Yo ho ho! So this evening I'd like to talk to you about my favourite Booktube controversies. This is kind of inspired by the fact that I'm seeing a lot of people complain about certain topics that I've discussed in the past, years ago, yet the topics are still very relevant and very prominent within the book community. So I thought I'd take you on a trip down memory lane and we'd go through some of the more prominent, still relevant Booktube issues. Because why not? I haven't made a discussion video in ages, I've been absolutely gagging for it, so here it is. So the first topic I'd like to talk about is the whole Amazon wishlist debacle. If you weren't around a couple of years ago in the Booktube community, it was as if overnight it happened. Just one day, like, Amazon wishlist started popping up in people's description boxes underneath their videos, and it was like a virus. It's as if just overnight it just spread like wildfire, and I don't know who started it or who thought it was a great idea, but the problem is that first of all, it's extremely unsafe to do because people can find your address very easily when you do that, and people are just completely unaware of that and still are, because there's many people who still have Amazon wishlist. So first and foremost, it's a really big safety issue, especially if you want to keep your address and your whereabouts private. But also, I think, a lot of people, including myself, took a disliking to the idea, is that like a lot of big booktubers were doing it, and it seemed that they were getting the majority of their books from publishers. So what's the point of like begging your subscribers, who are very young and impressionable, to send you books because you might be able to give them a shout out or something, if you could even remember their name. I remember seeing one book haul and they couldn't remember the person who'd sent them the book's name, and I just felt so bad. I was like, that's probably some like 13 or 14 year old who's probably going to have a cry now because this person is so inconsiderate that they don't even bother to remember their name. Anyway, it's something that I recently realised is still a thing, and it's a thing within the smaller Booktube community. I was like recently kind of going through some tag videos, and I always kind of click on the description to see if the person has listed the questions, and most of the time people don't, which is really annoying. And a lot of people don't actually link the original video of the creator who made the tag in it as well, which is that's like a pet peeves for another video. And then I started seeing like Amazon wishlist, Amazon wishlist, Amazon wishlist, and I always kind of click on their wishlist just to see like, is it even worth your time, like putting up a wish list in order for try to get people to send you free books and stuff? And most of the time, no, I would say. And I think people have some audacity, at least with Patreon and things like that. Generally, you put up something that is a reward. I don't see the reward for getting a subscriber to send you a book. Like, what are you doing for them? I don't know, there's just like a weird unbalanced thing there. The next topic was a pretty big one at the time, but a couple of years ago, people were doing like these wrap-up type videos. It might have been like bi-monthly wrap-up videos where they used to start like charting their reading, and people started breaking down their reading into statistics like how many male to female authors they read, how many white to people of colour authors they read, and it got really weird and really awkward. I know it must have been coming from a good place for a lot of people, like people just didn't realise that what they were doing came across this way, but to me it came across as like white people, giving themselves a pat on the back for reading like diversely. I think that's now why you see such a massive silence on Booktube about diversity, and there's a lot of like white booktubers who will just never ever touch the topic, because I think when it comes to that kind of thing, when it comes to something as sensitive as that topic, I think a lot of white booktubers feel like they can't talk about it because one, they don't have like the personal experience, two, they might be scared they say something ignorant, they don't want to get lambasted for putting out a video when they're not really sure or they haven't had any experience in the topics that they're talking about, which is unfortunate because there is other types of diversity rather than like skin color. And I feel like when people make videos on diversity, it's very much focused on like where a person's from rather than what the topic of the book actually is about. Some people are getting more open about it and they're incorporating books about like different topics and by different authors who are from different cultures and all that kind of thing. People always say like the Booktube community is like really helpful and friendly and things like that. And I would like to think that if someone were to make a video on diversity who maybe didn't really have a first-hand experience with what it's like to be a minority, that if they were to say something that was kind of ignorant or possibly offensive, that the people who they are talking about would be able to kind of correct them, but not in like a hateful way, just to be like, oh no, sorry, but you're kind of wrong about that, or you steered off in the wrong direction. That's not actually how it works. Because like I find that like I have to do that from time to time. My father's Muslim, so whenever I'd run into like super hardcore Christians who would say like ignorant things or just things that aren't true about like the Muslim religion, I'd just kind of step in and be like, you're not actually correct about that. Just educate them. We should always just be encouraging people to grow and to educate themselves more. And if you can help someone move forward and grow as a person, then I think you should. I don't think it's something that like, it's like, oh, you know, piss off and go study about it yourself. It's not my job to educate you. I understand where that comes from, and I understand the kind of frustration and stuff that comes with it. But I don't know, it's like it is a topic for a different video, but you know, a bad taste in certain people's mouths because of that, and because they had a really bad reaction because they thought they were doing something good, and in reality it just came off as like super ignorant, even though, you know, it wasn't their intentions, unfortunately. Next topic is negative reviews. Now, this is huge at the moment. Like, I'm seeing so much stuff, primarily from the YA side of Booktube, about negative reviews and how people shouldn't be posting negative reviews, and there's enough negative reviews on this book, so therefore your opinion doesn't actually matter, so don't bother to post your review of it if it's negative. Oh, that gets under my skin so bad, I cannot even tell you. Well, actually I can, and I know I've covered the topic of negative reviews before, and like the importance of negative reviews, and it's something I've really kind of battled for within the community, to like encourage people, if you don't like a book, say you don't like it. Don't be like, yeah, this book is really good, like there was some things I didn't really agree with, but overall I give it 5 stars. It's like, why? And I just want to remind people, like, take your mind back to like 2012 or 2013, whatever year it was that The Fault in Our Stars was released. There was so many positive reviews for that book. Like, there was hundreds, if not maybe even thousands. I don't even know. There was so many. It was just like every day I remember my sub feed like having to clear it out because it was just full of the same book. It never occurred to me then to get onto Twitter and say, excuse me, there's actually enough positive reviews on this book, so you can stop now. Who thinks like that? And it's so inconsiderate and ignorant to say, because you're basically saying that people's opinions don't matter. Should I not do a review on a book that's already been reviewed on Booktube? Is like that, is that the new thing now? I've covered this before. I've talked about the importance of negative reviews and how important it is to be honest with your viewers. And then I was like, when did I actually make that video? 4 years ago. I made a video about the exact same topic that people are still complaining about now 4 years ago, and it is still an issue. When are people going to actually grow up and learn to respect other people's opinions? People will always have a different experience reading a book. No two people will have the exact same experience. People will always like different things. People will always hate different things. And to say that just because someone posts a negative review, therefore you shouldn't post a negative review because there's already a couple, so therefore your opinion doesn't matter. It's like, it's absolute bullshit. You shouldn't listen to people who say things like that. They're talking out of their hole. And that's kind of my 2 cents on that. I can't believe this is still a thing, that people haven't just copped on and learned to respect each other's opinions. Most of you guys are like in your 20s to mid 20s now. You should have a good solid head on your shoulder. If you don't, I feel really sorry for you. I suppose next we should probably go into the dislike of libraries. Now, I actually want to make a standalone video about the whole library/use book controversy. It's something that's still really relevant. I actually saw a video a couple of weeks ago that really rubbed me the wrong way, talking about why people shouldn't use libraries, and it kind of makes me sick to my stomach that people will actively encourage people not to read used books and to always just buy new in order to like support the author and all that kind of shit. I think the library debate that happened a couple of years ago was a really good one, because it inspired a lot of people to start using the library again. I think it's an important thing to remind yourself that you do not need to buy new books in order to start a Booktube channel. You can buy used books, you can use the library. I've done library hauls and I've done used book hauls. They've been some of my most popular videos when it comes to hauls. I've never had anyone leave me a shitty comment being like, ew, you're reading a used book? Like, ew. And I know Richard Denny made a video about this topic a couple of years ago. His video was called I Can't Afford Booktube or something along that lines, and he just reiterated how you don't have to buy all your books new. I just don't like the idea of people being disheartened in the community or feeling like they're an outsider or anything like that, or feeling like they'll never fit in because they can only use the library or they can only afford used books. At the end of the day, all that matters is the content in the books. Regardless if it's new or if it's used, it's still the same words. I don't see the problem with it. I don't see why people feel the need to shame other people over it. So now we're going to talk about sponsorships. Sponsored content is not something that affects me personally with my viewing, because there's not many people that I would watch in the booktube community that do sponsored content. And I understand there's certain booktubers that do a lot of it. It's kind of getting more prominent now in the UK book community as well. I'm noticing people who have like ad in their title or in their thumbnail. I don't see the issue with people who disclaim that they're doing sponsored content. I can understand though the frustration with certain viewers is if someone is making a video around the sponsored content, because it feels like they're just making the video not because they're genuinely excited and they want to make the video. It's more so they want the paycheck that's associated with the sponsorship. I never want to stand between someone and a paycheck. You know, I think you have to do what you got to do in order to get by in this life. And if you already have a job, like you know, if you're going to college, you're working like a job or two, and you can do this and earn a bit of money off on the side from doing this, I think you should definitely go for it and utilize it. A lot of the bitterness in the community kind of comes from people who feel that they should be doing sponsored content, or that they would be more deserving of receiving sponsorships rather than the people who do. But all I can say to that is like, work harder, and if you want sponsorships, then go get them yourself. Work hard and good things will happen to you. And the last topic I'm going to cover, which is one that I kind of made a video on a little while ago, but then I didn't put it under this title because I didn't want to seem like clickbaity, and a lot of people have been using this title for their videos recently, and it's a very prominent discussion that's been going on for the last couple of months. But it is the idea that Booktube is dying. Now, do I think Booktube is dying? No, I think it's getting bigger than ever, and there's so many people like joining the community now, starting to build up like a good reputation for itself and become a more prominent thing. And like, there's so many people in the world who don't read books. I think it's always good that this community can encourage others to read books and to get back into reading again, or to start reading if it's like they've never really been a reader before in their life. I think only good things can really come from it. A lot of creators, including myself, have felt that their channel isn't doing well, and I feel like the whole idea that Booktube is dying is blamed on a lot of things that aren't actually the real reason. A lot of people blame the YouTube algorithm, and they say things like, oh well, my channel isn't doing that well because my subscribers aren't being notified that I have a new video up. And I think we've all been kind of hit by that. I think that's just an excuse. I think maybe a lot of people are just kind of burnt out. Maybe people have lost their enthusiasm. Maybe certain people who are now like receiving PR and stuff like that aren't enjoying reading as much as they used to, because they're reading books that they wouldn't normally gravitate to because they feel like they need to. I think people are just tired of doing the same old, and I think viewers are tired of watching the same old thing. I don't think many people are thinking outside of the box, but then again, it's difficult when all you're doing is just reviewing a book. There's only so many things you can do with book related content, but I feel like, you know, just changing it up once in a while, doing more in-depth videos is something that I'm certainly seeing that viewers want. That would be like the main thing, is just be more concise, be more well versed in whatever you're talking about. Don't read blurbs off the back of books, be able to properly discuss them. So many things, I don't want to say that are wrong with the community, but there's so many things that can be improved. It's just one of those weird, awkward transitional stages. Maybe people are growing out of what they used to like reading. Maybe people feel that they have to read a certain amount of books a month in order to maintain their channel. Maybe people still feel that book hauls are still a very relevant thing, and if they stopped doing them, their channel will die. I think you have to just like take the bull by the horns and not worry about these things and focus on what you love. Think back to why you joined the community in the first place. And most people will say like, oh, I do this because I genuinely love talking about books. I don't really have anyone in real life to discuss books with, so I utilize this platform. It is kind of comforting as someone who has made a video kind of related to that, to know that I'm not the only one, and that a lot of other creators are also in the same position. They don't really know what to do with their channel. I feel like it's something that's going to resolve itself eventually, and when it does resolve itself, like no one will even notice. It will just like people will just be back at their A game, posting the videos that they like again. At the end of the day, it will resolve itself. You will feel inspired again. Maybe you need a break. Maybe you need to stop reading for a while. My reading's gone down the jacks. It's summertime and I'm still not reading. I'm not like back into it. So we'll see. We'll see where this goes, but hopefully everyone will start to feel better soon. I'm just sending out good vibes. So those are my thoughts on like the booktube issues that are still quite relevant within the community. Let me know if I've missed anything. If there's other topics you'd like me to cover in the future in a video like this again, let me know, and I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.